We're going to talk about the new palliative rollout. We're going to assess the impact of the federal government's intervention. Today, of course, on this segment, we're tackling a critical issues that affect many Nigerian families, which is the economic hardship. The federal government's new palliative rollout promises to alleviate some of the economic burden faced by citizens, but will this be enough to deal with, the current realities? As we continue to navigate the challenges of economic uncertainty, rising costs, and limited resources, we're going to dive into the intervention rollout to say, could this, provide some kind of relief for Nigerians that so desperately needs it? So today we are exploring the economic impact of the new palliative rollout and how it affects your wallet, your businesses, and your future. We have in the studio an economist and public affairs analyst, Dr. Aliyu Ilias. Good morning. It's good to have you, Doctor.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Of course. So first of all, I want to hear your take, your first reaction when, of course, the NEC meeting finished and they said, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to offer 100,000 household palliative. What was your first reaction?
But my first reaction is that it's quite cosmetic in nature because, the thing is, it is still an intervention program. It's not a solution or a long-term solution that we can bank with. So for me, I think it's much more cosmetic, and as a country, we need to go beyond our cosmetic approach, because let's even look at it from the Fourth Republic, right from President Olusegun Obasanjo. We have successive intervention, right from NAPEP, from him. When Yar'Adua also came with a wealth creation. Jonathan also came with UWIN, which is a subsidy reinvestment program. And I've also seen the NSIP of President Muhammadu Buhari. The challenge is this. One of our recommendations, because my thesis was on poverty reduction that time, then we have to recommend that the major thing is to institutionalize poverty reduction program, which I think resulted to humanitarian ministry. But look at it now, no minister, no functional thing from humanitarian. So if you want to bring solution to Nigerians that will solve the problem of poverty, it must be institutionalized, and it must not be an intervention program. That is just what we should look at.
But experts, Doctor, for the longest I have been calling, saying Nigerians don't really need this handout. But the government seems to be pushing with, the grants, palliative. Why do you think they choose to take this route? They choose to take it?
Right. I think it only exposes government that they are not proactive. They are only reactive. We could see that the challenges we have now is a function of something. It's a ripple effect of the policy decision making. So once you have such policy decision making, you should know that there will be a fallout of it. So this is quite reactionary, not proactive. And it's a very good government would have looked at it a long time. Like economists usually say, now up till now, we have not seen President Tinubu and his team plan for economic solutions, short term, medium term, long term. Perhaps we have seen different programs, such as we have one we call sustainability plan, economic sustainability plan. Now we have construction support, a different nomenclature, but it's not the best way to go. The best way to go is to sit down, plan for short term, medium term, and let us focus. Perhaps you must also bring about a solution that will cut across the country. It's something that federal government will initiate, state will buy into it, local government will buy into it, and also private sector will also buy into it. These are the things that can bring solution. The likes of it could be needs. You recall during Obasanjo was that's a program that seed was for state, leads was for local government, and also local government also key into. So these are the solutions that we can. But if we keep on giving this handout, this intervention, it will not solve problem. Because record has shown that the one we have done so far does not really move people. Even though you are giving people handouts, would that make them to scale in business? They will definitely spend. And more so, it's also a precursor for inflation. Once you start doing this, we've seen trader money, we've seen market money. How has they translate to well-being of Nigerians?
Yeah, that's a great question there. For a clearer talk or discussion on all of this, we have to clarify the fact that the program is to support 100,000 families in each state getting 50,000 naira grant for 3 months, basically 3 months. We have 155 billion naira to be disbursed for assorted foods. Now, this food, we don't know how they plan on doing it. If there is going to be some kind of palliative for the food, there's 540 billion naira for household grants, even as 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory will get about 10 billion naira allocations each for CNG buses. Let's talk about the CNG buses.
Right. I'm much interested in the food area.
Yeah,
Right.
I understand, but
right.
this is all, of course, a way it will also affect the food, because
Yes.
one of the major things is transportation.
Right.
And this transportation is also affecting
Correct.
food prices. So how do you think this would actually benefit Nigerians? Because CNG has been promised for the longest time and it's still not active until now.
Right. You recall that even President Muhammadu Buhari, before he left office, he said there are some things he will put in place before there could be first subsidy removal. But we failed to put those things in place, and this is 1 year. So now the CNG buses, what I think is government needs to unbundle that sector critically and holistically, because if you keep on doing it within our government cycle, it becomes a problem. As of today in Abuja, I don't think we have up to 2 functional CNG. I've been interested in converting my car to CNG, but it's pretty difficult. If you pay from April up to now, there is no call, there is no information. That simply shows that we are not sincere about that. So if you are saying you are giving 10 billion naira for each state, the major question is that the 10 billion to purchase the buses, if they even purchase the bus, where are they going to get the gas itself? Because it's not about the purchase of the bus itself, it's the facility available to cater to the needs of people. So for me, I think government should engage private sector very, very well, whereby every nooks and cranny, you can easily convert your vehicle, not at this exorbitant price, because they also say they are giving 50% reduction. We have not seen that happen also. So I think until we unbundle it and make it a common man on the street, now by the time you go to 2-3 streets, you see somebody converting that vehicle to see, and that is the way to go. Then government should also stop considering doing things through a state, because I think government should treat states with counterpart funding, sort of.
Okay. How so?
Because if you are giving states 10 billion, ask them how much are you also bringing to cushion the effect. Because if you keep on giving them this money and there is no proper accountability for it, it will veer into something else. So I think government should do some things directly. Make sure that each state, we have people that can convert vehicle, and we also have the CNG facility. Because if you don't break that and make it a common man affair, there will not be government, make it much more pedestrian, so that people can access it.
Yeah, I mean, our callers, one of their concerns is the fact that this initiative that is meant to be for the grassroots don't really get to them because of the channel being used to reach
even
them.
The approach itself, when you want to bring a policy in Nigeria, it's also always top to bottom, which is supposed to be bottom up approaches. Because when you are doing these things, you look at the people that will benefit directly, then you take from them, engage them, so that they can tell you how things can actually work in the grassroots. It's very, very key.
Because in the NEC meeting, rather, there was no traditional ruler, people from the community street to come out and say this is exactly how we can be able to reach these things. But then you spoke about short term and long term, and the government seemed to find the palliative measures to be a short term measure before they make the plan. Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see the government saying that this is for the 3 months, and within that period we are working towards achieving a better and stable economy, especially when it comes to food?
Right. Well, I think the intervention of palliative should be for much more of emergency situation. There's flood, you give people palliative immediately. During COVID-19, it was a force majeure that you quickly do. But for economy to actually flow as expected, there should be a long-term solution, because these people you are giving palliative are still going to take that money immediately to the economy, and what will result in inflation. So there should be, for instance, government said they declared state of emergency on food security. It is 1 year on. I think it was since June 13 or so 2023 that there was a declaration on food emergency. That up till now we have not seen it reflecting in the market. So when you declare food emergency, we were thinking that there will be irrigation that will bring dry season farming that would have cushioned a lot of the effect that by now wouldn't have us actually fail those negative impact of the the food challenges. Then also we must continue to work on food supply chain. You made mention of transportation and the effect the CNG would have bringing. Yes, correct. Because the major problem is not that there is still no food in some places, but the problem is that if I purchase tomato in Bauchi at sum of 20,000 naira, how much will I take to bring that to Abuja to sell to the users? That is the question. So, as we work on the supply chain, and the supply chain can only be worked on if we have good if we have CNG available for every truck that is going to take that. Because it's quite interesting that if I'm expending 40,000 naira for my car every month, that's with PMS. If I'm using CNG, it will be 8,000 naira. This is the difference. That would have been a lot of, and it would have increased my purchasing power. So I think government should consciously focus on this CNG, because it appears there is no going back of fuel subsidy remover. So if there's no fuel subsidy remover, please, they should do the needful and make it very possible for people to
I mean, I can relate to what you just said, because I spoke with someone in animal agriculture, and he said he prefers to move his animals and even the produce, that's the milk and all that, to a neighboring country, which is Mali, than to ship to or bring to Lagos because of the transportation cost.
So, as a businessman, you have to look at, you must be cost effective and cost conscious. So if I'm a businessman, it's not by being loyal to my country, it's profit as well. So if you are taking it to a country like Mali, I think it's cost effective and the price of maybe PMS or whatever is cheaper compared to taking it to Abuja or Lagos. You all look at, in fact, 40-feet container, do you know how much it costs to actually transport it? We have serious supply chain problem.
There is a problem there. So in your assessment of all of this and the potential economic impact of the 1 trillion naira program, will it stimulate the economy and create jobs?
Right. If you look at the money, 1 trillion, it's a huge one, where it will create relief for those that will get it, but it's quite temporary, and that's what we are saying. We're not saying that it won't bring a succor to some people, but what we are saying is that if you give me 100,000 naira as of today, in 2 months, it is off, and what comes after that. That's what we're actually saying. But in terms of immediate impact, it might solve a problem. Perhaps imagine that 1 trillion being expended on CNG. Just look at that effect. It would have helped our purchasing power. That simply means that there will be structure, there will be infrastructure for CNG in every. So we are thinking as an economist, government, why not use this money to do something meaningful, infrastructure, and make sure that people benefit from it? Tell me that 774 local government, you now use this 1 trillion and said, okay, let's divide it by so amount and make sure that there's a CNG infrastructure that people will access that CNG immediately. It would have much more effect in the long run compared to what this handout would have given to people. So no doubt, every government actually try to bring immediate support to people, but our own current problem now is not to give us palliative, is to look for long-term solution, because if you do it now, the major problem is still waiting for Nigerians.
And there seem to be no plans for achieving that the long-term situation. But I want to get your take on this. There is this complaint. You heard some of our callers call in to complain about if at all this initiative should push through. Their major concern is that it doesn't really get to the the intended benefactors. What is your take on the implementation process of every initiative? I mean, from the time of former President Olusegun Obasanjo until date.
Yes, let's look at the political economy of that area. You recall that even the governors, they made mention that they wanted to have their own register. That is poor register. That's the way the problems, because everybody wants to take benefit to within their own whims and caprices. Everybody wants to have his political hold. So if this thing is going, it's actually likely, as we have seen before, to go to people that are pro-government, so to say, that are much more political party and what, and that it has been playing over time. We also see that in Empire and other things. You could recall the issue of the NDE program that has to be with a battle between the ministry, I think Ministry of Employment, and the National Assembly. They want to take hold of it and make sure that there are people that actually have been. And meanwhile, if you are bringing out such palliative, it should get to the poor of the poor. And poor of the poor may not have even bank accounts. That's where we have to look at it very well. So you must go to the grassroots and make sure that the right person actually gets, because if you give people that are better off already, they'll also use it for luxury. Because we recall even during UN, can tell you some people got that money, actually went and buy a car. When you are giving out actually a poverty reduction program, and someone who all his need was just to go and use that money to purchase a car, it's become a serious problem. So we must guide against such, because by the time you give such people, it will go back to the economy, and it will have negative externality. So you must continue to look at how, and you must now work with the governors. You must condition them, and that's why I think we must do this thing in a way that, like Tinubu actually spoke with them the last time. I love the way he spoke with them, because he's giving them 7 days ultimatum to bring about some solution, because he just give them, okay, for instance, we have had a major increment in our FAC allocation. Before, they used to share 600 billion. Now it's about 1 point something trillion. I could only point at he called himself farmers governor, who actually went and purchased tractors. By the time he purchased, in fact, a part of what I also read is that they want to make sure that every year they purchase 2,000 tractor. This is a way better way to go, because you must attract people, and we must embark on mechanized farming. If a major employer is even agriculture up to now, why not focus on it and produce? And for now, what we have more people working on is what we're actually suffering from. Can you imagine a Nigerian that we know for agriculture is not having an issue? Ibadan and Kano has the highest dam in Nigeria. What that translates to? That is what we need to start looking at. Okay, Ibadan, Oyo State rather, and Kano State have highest dam in Nigeria. So how about irrigation? How well have they tapped into it? How well have the youth also key into it? We must be focused. The Minister of Agriculture, in as much as I want to say they are doing well to an extent, they need to do more, and let's get to grassroots. We should shun immediate thing. Government is continuum. You can see the government Muhammadu Buhari, take it or leave it. He has actually initiated and helped people to grow more rice than ever before. So let us look at other areas too that we can actually work on, so that we will say we have comparative advantage in Nigeria, and state to state you also have comparative advantage. Okay, in my state, this is what we can produce better, and that's why we said any poverty reduction that does not take into cognizance 774 local government and their peculiar needs. Somebody in Bayelsa only need palliative that will help him to actually do his fishing better, right? Somebody in Ogun State need much more money to do his adiredi more. So you must start looking at it from that part, and that's why we say it should be bottom-up approach when it comes to poverty reduction program.
Interesting. You spoke about checking weaknesses and strengths of every aspect and using it. That's every local government. There's a question that has been lingering in my head for the longest time. Earlier, you pointed out that when the federal government are giving some kind of money and allocations to cushion some effect, the state should put theirs, because we all know how it is, especially in business. If your money is involved, you ought to be extra careful, right? So why is it that the state governments are always waiting for allocations from the federal? States are known for various resources that they could use and take advantage of. Example, the Benue State are known to be the food basket, right? So we know their strength is there. So why are the state governors not really exploiting the resources they have in order to create and generate more IGR in the states?
I think that's a serious issue that we must look at, because when you become a governor, we want to look at what you will do. I think these are the major problems. A governor that cannot increase the IGR of that state, does not even have room to tell people for more for next election. But because Nigerians, we are much more concerned about immediate gratification. If not, how can you come as a state governor? You have not made an impact in terms of how to generate more revenue. You continue to look at what the federal government is going to bring. I think that's the bane of our problem itself, because we keep on having people that are much more, let me not say mediocre, that are not conscious of what they are supposed to do for you. Because the more you have resources, the more we expect you to develop more. I could see many states even going to build airports. When you have a neighbor that you can actually take advantage of the airport and a labor of 1 hour, 1.5 hours to travel. And now you go for such white elephant job that does not have economic benefit to your success, because we must look at it from that level. Look at the amount of money that they are going to expand. Even also as at now, we cannot still be proud of any cargo airport that will transport maybe fresh produce, tomato, maybe vegetables to any country abroad. Up to now, we are not. Go to Ethiopia, you see that people will go to farm in the money, they come out with their produce, they are selling it immediately, and it's going international. So we must look at that from that very, very area. And I think arable land is everywhere in Nigeria. We must start to look at that area. So any governor who cannot actually bring about much more increase in IGR does not deserve to actually lead us, because you are expected to be best of the best among us.
Yeah, there seems to be a disconnect when it comes to, the government and the people, especially in the rural area. Why do you think that is the problem? While stakeholders are still pushing for at least some kind of autonomy for the local government and then reach out to the people, there seems to be extra gap. Why do you think we still find ourselves in this solution?
I think the day I saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or his Attorney General of the Federation, taking this case to court, I was thinking, this is another we will see how President Tinubu will come. Because you recall, President Muhammad Buhari declare there is an executive order on the autonomy for local government. Until there is that autonomy itself, go to some states. I can say 2 states actually give their local governments power very well. Go to those states, you see that there is development in those local governments. So we must make sure that it works. Then also, we must also look at our National Assembly, because when we talk, those people also are supposed to do some things that are immediate and needful. For instance, as a local government, as a senator, you have your constituency. As an honorable, I think 2 local government also is what you are overseeing. What are you making sure is happening in those local governments, in those your constituency, that actually benefit people directly? In the National Assembly, are you canvassing for what will bring help, succor, and development? Then in terms of our governors are becoming I wouldn't say demigod, but they are becoming people that believe that the local government must be under their, control. Until we have, I recall there was this precedent that was it Jonathan also, every month, every allocation that goes to local government, it is on the page of newspaper. So once you allocate,
bring clarity.
Right. Once you allocate to them, show us on the newspaper that ABC local government, Adabi local government have this have this, so that even the citizen can say, okay, this allocation we can actually follow the money as it were, and see how it has reflected. Because until we have a functional local government, there could not be development. Perhaps every one of us is present in one local government, because you cannot be in what is a state. A state also, a local government constitutes that state itself. So until we look at that local government and give it priority, and it's becoming is what we cannot achieve. I don't know why it's becoming like so. But I think the ultimate should be to go back to National Assembly, because no matter the executive order, local government, there must be a pronouncement through legislation that local governments should have their autonomy, and this is how it should operate.
I mean, the Constitution seems to have a lot of loopholes that need to, check and check all over again. But then quickly on this, decision of the federal government or in the NEC meeting concerning this particular issue of the palliative, what do you think, the best solution would be, an outcome? Considering that the federal government, if they've already set their mind, sometimes they don't really listen to Nigerians. So what do you think the best solution would be?
Well, I think in as much as it has been declared, we don't see it being withdrawn. But what I think there should be proper monitoring, because if you don't monitor this, it won't get to the right person. And for the issue of buses, I recall there was this declaration that buses are coming by the federal government. Up to now, I don't think I've seen them in the city center. I think there should be a strong message, and there should be timeline, because once they say it, we have not seen timeline. So give states timeline. As I give them 7 days to come up with some proposal, I also give them timeline. If you're getting this money, 3 months, the procurement should have taken place in 3 months. A good, I think, good procurement process for such bus should have completed maybe in a week, and 3 months there should be delivery. Because until there is immediate delivery, Nigerians need immediate succor, immediate solution that will really give us a breathing space. It's quite challenging because our purchasing power has been eroding, and what actually erode that, it's actually transportation, because no matter what you are doing now, you must embark on transportation, and that's why commodities are quite very, very expensive in the market.
It's really disheartening what is going on, and we hope, of course, necessary stakeholders do the needful. Thank you so much, Dr. Aliyu Ilias, for joining us to dissect the situation, and economist and public affairs analyst. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And with that, we'll take a break, and when we come back, it will be time for us to look at the front pages of the national dailies. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.